The grey, damp weather has not abated as we welcome you back to the culmination of day 5 of the Tour of Britain to the city of Bristol. The big crowds in the city here will be a warm sight to the riders after their punishing 151-mile stage. We saw an accident earlier on at the gorge. Fortunately, nothing too serious. Most of the riders back up on their feet and on the bikes. So, 3 times round this circuit, the times now of crucial importance to the overall result. So, let's rejoin Phil Liggett.
And the riders now rushing into the city of Bristol, yet another city on this rapid Tour of Britain. Adrian Timmis on the front here, the rider who tried so hard to win in Birmingham yesterday, and he managed a very, very good 4th place. Now he's bringing the Z Peugeot team onto the circuit, and still in this group, Joey McLaughlin in the green jersey. These are the riders who've come together, regrouped after that crash, coming away from the Mendip Hills.
Well, Phil, it's still the Z Peugeot team trying to break the stranglehold that Malcolm Elliott has had on this race since the start. And there they are, Adrian Timmis going through with Ronan Ponsek in 2nd place there. It's a really hard circuit around here in Bristol with that little climb up Park Street and Queen Street. And this is where, if Joey's going to try and take it away from Malcolm, that's where the attacks have got to come.
And again, a marvellous city centre crowd despite the atrocious conditions today. It's been very cold, very wet, and Robert Miller has been finding it very painful too. There he is on the far right of the picture, the green jersey of Joey McLaughlin, the points leader in this race, climbing the hill here. And McLaughlin hasn't yet managed to break the iron grip of the Fagor team. He started today just 19 seconds adrift of Malcolm Elliott. Remember, Elliott, right at the beginning of the day, won that 3-second time bonus at Henley. So it now means, of course, he leads overall by 22 seconds.
And there is Sean Yates moving up there into 2nd place. Sean has been an incredible rider in this year's Tour of Britain. He's at the moment 3rd overall in this tour, and he hasn't even thought about his own overall placing, because all he's thinking about is the team effort. Adrian Timmis on the front there for Z Peugeot, trying to keep the pace up so that 1 or 2 of these riders can try and attack and break away, because everybody's so close together at the moment.
Well, the Peugeot team was certainly the most outstanding French team in this year's Tour de France. They rode it so well, as they're on now 2 laps to go to the finish. It's quite a long circuit here in the city of Bristol, and one of the nicest too, because it's very, very hard indeed, especially with this climb on every circuit. The red jersey there of Rod Holden, who still survives. Well, survives really isn't the word. He's running away with the under-23 competition at this minute, and of course he's the youngest man at 20. And look at the leg there of Keith Reynolds. He's one of the fallers out on the course earlier, and he's now coming through the finish detached by something like 3 or 4 minutes.
Well, it's been an incredible tour by Keith Reynolds, because he's really come to his own in this tour, and he's showing the class that he'd already showed last year in his first year as a professional.
He's also showing the courage now, Paul, because up in the action at Stoke-on-Trent, where he was 3rd, he's now having to limp in a long way behind the field. Madio here attacking with determination on the climb, and leaving Sean Yates and the rest of them, and the big crowd stretching right the way up this hill. It really is a difficult sprint on the climb.
Well, this is a good place for Mark Madio to attack as well, because he's won a lot of races in his professional career by going away in the last 5-6 kilometres, and as he goes away over the climb here, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the rest of the riders. But it looks as if he gets to the top here as if he's easing up a little bit, although I'm saying that it's very, very hard over the top of this climb. But Madio himself is only about 45 seconds down on Malcolm Elliott.
There are so many riders can still win this race as they start more attacks now. Madio has gone back into the group here, but it's the Cass riders on the attack now. And is this Stephen Hodge? And yes, indeed it is. So Hodge now trying. He's moved up, by the way, to 2nd overall in the King of the Mountains. He's jumped over Sean Kelly. Gianetti, of course, now confirmed in that competition.
And it's going to get harder and harder on this circuit now for the Fagor team to chase, because they've been chasing all day. The Z Peugeot sent that breakaway with Albady, and now you see it's the Z Peugeot team actually taking up the racing. And fortunately, this is a lucky move for the Fagor team, because they must be very, very tired, because Sean Yates, for instance, there has probably been on the front for something like 100 miles of this 151-mile stage.
Well, the Fagors, we keep talking about them. They've been the team of the race, and certainly the team of today. They've kept this race together for Malcolm Elliott. There's a 10 seconds time bonus for the winner today. The first 4 riders receive bonuses, And with Elliott leading by just those 22 seconds, of course, a 10-second slice off the top for McLaughlin today. There he is in that green jersey in third place. Would set him up nicely when we go to Westminster tomorrow for the big finale. And that is probably why it's the Z Peugeot riders here now trying to keep this race together in the hope that McLaughlin in third place there will come up with the goods in the sprint.
And there's McLaughlin there, as you said, in third place, but he's always being shadowed by Malcolm Elliott. Malcolm is feeling really as if he's only got one man to watch in this race. Stephen Roach is back a little bit as they come through with the bell with 1 lap to go. This is the time when if any attacks are going to come, they'll come on this lap now on the climb.
Ronan Pensek on the front then for Joey McLaughlin now. Pensek's chances went at Stoke-on-Trent when his bike frame snapped. He lost then over 10 minutes and all hope of victory. That man was 7th in the Tour de France. Now he's keeping this race hopefully together, keeping the speed high, so that Joey McLaughlin can come out of the bottom corner there and try and do what he did so successfully in Liverpool, and that's beat Malcolm Elliott.
Well, as they come up the climb here, you can see Sean Yates moving up to keep the pace high because he knows what the danger is. He wants to make sure that the pace is just that little bit too high for Joey McLaughlin, who's moved into second place. But Yates is keeping the pace so high, he's actually riding away from the field.
Just look at this man, Sean Yates. He's ripping away from McLaughlin. McLaughlin recovering a little bit now to try and get back into the race, but he's having to fight very hard. This is going to hurt Joey McLaughlin. This is going to take a little bit of the sting out of his tail, because these riders today, you know, if you count the 10 miles that they did to the race start proper today, have ridden over 160 miles and been in the saddle for over 8 hours. And still they're going with all the strength that they go at the end of every stage. And still it's Sean Yates who we see at the front. Look at that pace, Paul. Yates really giving it.
Unbelievable the way Sean's ridden, but that kind of move that he's just done there is absolutely and utterly demoralising for the rest, because Sean is riding here as a teammate when really he's as strong as any of the leaders, and that must be a blow to Joey McLaughlin's morale when he went up that climb there. And look at the face on Joey here. This is really a mask on his face today as well. I think today must be the day of the masks.
Well, it's rather a cool one there on Malcolm Elliott. Here's the big man himself, the animal many people call him. He's such a strong rider. Now it's John Clay here having a dig. In fact, I think it was Darrell Webster who was having a dig there. And it looks to me as though Webster, who you may see the dirt down the side of his jersey there, he was on the floor in that crash in the Mendips just a few moments ago. But Yates, having none of it, brings this race back. If there was a vote on the man of the race over this week, Sean Yates would certainly take that. The most aggressive rider, the man who's holding the defence all the time. And now this looks like Thomas Wegmuller trying, as he tries to go for home. We're inside the final kilometre here. Wegmuller has put in an attack. He's a rider that everybody's spoken about all day, expecting something. They really thought that Wegmuller was going to be the man today to go ahead all the way across the Cotswolds and the Mendips, and it wasn't. But now he's going now before the crowd. Thomas Wegmuller from Switzerland, the rider who lost Paris-Roubaix this year, the greatest classic in the world, because of a plastic bag in his back wheel. He's going to win this one. Thomas Wegmuller has jumped clear. Now Wegmuller takes the victory on the line. I'm not surprised, he's delighted. 3 wins last year. That's the first win of the year for him, and he's absolutely delighted, and we'll have a look at that again. Thomas Wegmuller then wins the sprint. This is how he did it. He jumped away in the last kilometre of the stage, and he was the man with the most strength left in those legs after 151 miles today. So Sean Kelly's Cass Sport Life team are going clear at last with a victory they've been searching for. And full of determination, Paul, as he drives it home towards the line. And the second and third place is also taken by the Cass team with Jean Manfrin. There's the confirmation. And Sean Kelly himself in third. Gaillon fourth. Elliott was fifth. And Frank Hoster from Belgium was sixth. Malcolm Elliott then still keeps himself on top, thanks to the efforts of men like Stephen Roach.
Malcolm, the end of a very punishing day's racing for you, long and hard and very wet weather.
Yeah, it's been an extremely long day, and I want to say thanks. Well, I don't really know quite how to say thanks to the extent to my teammates for the enormous amount of work they've done over these last few days. And today, 150 miles, they've been on the front for most of that, and they've just gone on day after day after day like robots. And,
but you yourself made a very positive move at Henley and Arden, winning that sprint.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those things. It wasn't planned in any way. It just came about. Steve Jones attacked, and I think I seem to remember another rider who was slightly dangerous went with him. So I had to go too, just to cover the move. And we finished up with a bit of a split, and we saw the 1 mile to go to the TV time sprint. And I thought, well, we'll just drive it until we get past the sprint, and I'll take 3 more seconds, which would, you know, make me slightly more comfortable.
The Peugeot team tried to break you there with that breakaway, but as you say, your team stuck by and pulled you through.
Yeah, the temptation was to panic a little. It was going very, very strongly, and it looked quite good. But when you imagine the fact that there was, I think, a good 100 miles, yeah, about 100 miles to go before the finish, and the wind was in. It was a headwind, and in spite of him riding hard, we just kept our cool, rode, well, I say steady, but you're riding on the front for all that time. It really, really does take its toll on the lads. But eventually, you know, because he was on his own out front there, it just becomes too much, and we caught him just at the top of Teddy Gorge.
Malcolm, you said yesterday that whoever won today, or whoever would retain the yellow jersey today, you reckon would win the Tour.
I think that's a strong possibility now. I mean, I'm saying we're going into tomorrow, and I don't see myself losing it, but for bad luck or crash or puncture and at the wrong time, you know.
Malcolm, thanks very much. Have a good rest tonight.
Thanks. I will.
So at last, Malcolm Elliott speaks with confidence. The man who should have attacked, still in the green jersey, Joey McLaughlin, but only just, because in fact they're equal on top in the points competition with 76 points each. But it's Elliott who gets the champagne again. And there is the overall situation. Malcolm Elliott leads McLaughlin by 22, Wegmuller third, Sean Yates fourth, Kelly fifth. And the man who won today, Gianetti, he's the king of the mountains now, 104 points from Hodge and Kelly. So, after an exciting day, a ride of almost 8 hours, 13 riders have once again proved totally inseparable in this Kelloggs Tour of Britain. I would have thought that tonight we would have known the destination of this £10,000 Citroën car going to the winner of the race. We certainly don't know that, and tomorrow the race on the streets of Westminster in London will decide the result of this event. Malcolm Elliott now goes to London in yellow, just as he left Newcastle upon Tyne almost a week ago last Tuesday. Joey McLaughlin still the challenger in second place. Stephen Roach occupies fifth spot now, and Thomas Wegmuller has come back in as a real challenger. This race still wide open. On the streets of London tomorrow, the decisions will be made. So, until then, good night.